Boundaries can be so freaking difficult, especially if you feel like all you do is repeat the same freaking boundary over and over and over again. And today, I have a brand new way to think about this. It is going to save you emotional, psychological, financial, spiritual turmoil and finally put everything into place for you once and for all. Now, this is for you if you're especially dealing with somebody who's a difficult or toxic person. There's an old joke I tell all the time on this channel. It is, why did the narcissist cross the road? Because they thought it was a boundary. It's not funny though, right? Especially if you're in that situation, you know how frustrating it can be. You feel like all you do is say the same thing over and over and over again, and you keep getting resistance, backlash, gaslighting, manipulating, et cetera, et cetera. So I've got the system for you. I promise you. This is a brand new way to think about this. But here's the thing: you can't miss one of these five key ingredients I'm going to give you today because it's just like if you were building a cake. You're building a beautiful boundary cake. If you leave out one of these key ingredients, it's not going to work. So I want you to take your time with this today. I want you to commit to getting a notepad, writing this little system down with you so that when you go to deliver a boundary from now on, you will be getting a different result, a result where you are empowered, you are free, you're getting what you want for once in your relationships, and people are listening finally, right, to what you have to say. And thank God for that. So I'm Heidi Rain. If you're new here, I just want to say welcome home. I am so glad that you found me. This is a big planet. And the fact that you found me, I believe, is by design, divine design, which means that you were led here on purpose for a reason. And I am going to do everything I can to make sure that you leave this talk today feeling empowered, equipped, inspired, and educated so that you know what to do with this information today so that your life will start to change for the better. Most of us that have grown up or been in any kind of a toxic or dysfunctional relationship for quite some time, our primary question has become, well, what's next? How much more shit is going to be thrown at me? How bad can it get? We're always ready, right? We're all like shit creek survivors. We know how bad we can let it get and how to get out the oars and go up shit creek. And we're good at that. But I have a new question for you when you're watching these videos and letting me come alongside of you in the podcast, or even if you decide to join one of our programs or retreats. And that question is, how good can you let it get? How good can you let your relationships become? How much love can you let into your life? How good can you feel? How good can your life become? And that's a very different question. So let's dive in to a topic today on setting boundaries in relationships, primarily difficult relationships, so that you can start to answer the question, how good can your life become? The first thing that we need to understand today is the acronym that we're going to be using. And the acronym is CLEAR. The whole point is we want a clear boundary. We don't want any room for misinterpretation, wiggle room. Well, I thought you meant, but I didn't know. No, you know, because it's going to be so clear. It's going to be impossible for you or anyone else to keep renegotiating a different outcome every time. Clear. Let's start with the C in our acronym. The C is an obvious one that most of us feel like, oh, yeah, well, no shit, I know what that is. And that's clarity. But honestly, the clarity is the hardest part. Most people, when they're trying to set a boundary, are not clear. They kind of have like a loose idea of what they want. They know what they don't want a little bit, like, oh, I want you to stop doing what you're doing, right? But that's not really clarity. I want a better life. It's not really clarity. I want you to act normal. It's not clarity. I want you to stop being a jerk. It's not clarity. You want to be so crystal clear with exactly what it is that you want and don't want. So, what I want you to do is take a minute, and this is really good done in a journal session where you sit down with yourself in the morning, particularly after maybe you had a rough night. Maybe you can recall how it's been especially difficult for you lately. What I want you to do is pull out a journal and start to vent and write all the things, two questions. First page in your journal is going to be, what am I no longer willing to settle for or tolerate? What am I no longer willing to settle for or tolerate? And I want you to spend, you can put on Alanis Morissette, you know? "And I'm here to remind you," you can play some kind of music that inspires you to take no shit, right? And to remember all the things that you've been putting up with. So you're gonna do everything I don't wanna tolerate anymore. And once you've exhausted all of that possibility, it's time to take a little break, take a walk outside in nature, take some deep breaths, take a break from all that nastiness for a while, and when you're ready, within the same day, come back to that journal with, "And what do I really want?" After you did the "What am I no longer willing to settle for?" The next page in your journal is gonna be in "What do I really want?" And for this journal entry, I would ask you to get somewhere where you feel really wonderful. Whether for you that's in the tub with beautiful music that you play in your ears, whether that's on the treadmill when you're envisioning you're taking a walk in the country, or you're out in nature somewhere, you're sitting by a stream, you're going to the beach for the day, you're hiding in your closet. I don't know where that space is for you, but I do know that you wanna get yourself into that headspace and that physical space so that you can journal for as long as you can on what would an ideal situation look like? Now, this is hard for a lot of people because your main question is, "Well, I know what I don't want it to be, right? But I'm not used to imagining." This is what a lot of my clients say. "I don't know how to imagine that beautiful life that I want. I don't know what it is that I truly want." And that is fair because a person like you who's involved in these relationships has likely spent your entire life organizing your happiness around the needs and desires of everybody else around you except for yourself. Especially if you're in survival mode or safety mode, just trying to keep everybody copacetic, keeping the peace, walking on eggshells. That's going to be too big of a stretch for you to even start to think about what it is that you really want. So, we're going to keep working on that. And if you join one of my courses, on demand courses, or if you sign up for coaching, I can help you figure out how to get deeper into what it is that you really want and figure all that out. So basically, the clarity for now is fine if you just reach your stop sign on the end of bullshit road. Meaning, you write a big stop sign, you write, "This is the end of bullshit road. What am I no longer willing to tolerate?" And we'll just start there. Specific behaviors, specific things that are happening in your house. I will no longer tolerate drunkenness in my home. I will no longer tolerate you speaking to me the way that you speak to me. I will no longer tolerate guessing at what you're thinking and feeling. I will no longer tolerate your emotional outbursts at the family. I will no longer tolerate feeling manipulated or gaslit. I will no longer tolerate financial hijacking. I will no longer tolerate you driving drunk with the kids. I will no longer tolerate you speaking to other women, men, what have you. I will no longer tolerate feeling like I'm last on the list, whatever that is. And by the way, when you're making this list in your clarity, it's not just the behaviors that you're no longer willing to tolerate from other people. It's also the behaviors you're no longer willing to tolerate in yourself. And we call that the sacred no. And by the way, the sacred no, you deciding and getting really clear on what your limits are with yourself. I'm no longer willing to gaslight myself. I'm no longer willing to have that icky feeling that I feel and perform an act of self-betrayal anyway. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. I'm no longer willing to be intimate when my emotional needs are not met, and I am tired of talking myself into being intimate in relationships where I do not feel that connection. Okay, that's like a holy moment, a sacred no that you set for yourself. But what happens is we gaslight ourselves out of it. And we say things like, "Well, but I've got to meet the needs of somebody else, even though they're not meeting my needs, you know. I've got to, so my duty, I've got to suck it up anyway." And we do it, and we have an act of self-betrayal, and we feel terrible after we do it. So the bottom line is you're not just thinking about your sacred no with other people. You're thinking about what behavior you're not going to tolerate anymore in yourself. Now, by the way, this whole video today could be like its own mini course, right? For free on the interwebs. If you just took a moment and went through this and did every step, a step a day for 5 days and worked on it, you would be good. But if you want deeper and more, I do have a boundary course that is specific for dealing with addiction on my website at HeidiRain.com. So if you want to take a look at that, it's setting boundaries with an addict or an alcoholic, because those boundaries are a little bit um, more specific to the issue that you're dealing with. So okay, that's the C. C is clarity. Clarity with you're no longer willing to tolerate. What is your stop sign on the end of bullshit road? What are you no longer willing to tolerate with other people? And what are you no longer willing to tolerate in yourself? Once you have that clarity about what you really are not going to tolerate anymore, you move on to the second step in the boundary setting, my new boundary setting method. And the L in our CLEAR acronym, we're on number two, is leverage. Now, if you've been around for any period of time and you've seen Tony Robbins lately with his wife Sage, I guess they're really hitting on the female aspect of things right now, which I think is great. I think Sage has a lot to offer. I digress. Anyway, if you've ever been to any kind of Tony Robbins seminar or anything like that, you know that what he always says, which isn't his new idea, but it's reality of psychology is in order for you to make any decision in life, for you to actually pull the trigger on anything, you have to know your why. Why is this so important? And many people miss this step. And because the why is your motivation. The leverage, the L in our clear boundary acronym, the L is get leverage on yourself. You need leverage on yourself. Leverage is the same thing as motivation. It's what keeps you going when the going gets tough. It's like when I get up in the morning and I don't want to make a video, or I don't have an idea in my mind, or I'm feeling exhausted or tired, or I'm dealing with depression or anxiety or whatever, many things that I deal with. I need to use leverage on myself to keep my promises that I've made, right? Which is showing up, helping people, writing books, doing the things, having coaching sessions, doing the things that I know that I'm here to do. But it's not always easy to do that. So the leverage helps me. And I recall, okay, well, why am I doing this? What is my why? What is my reasoning? So here's what I want you to do. The next page in your journal, after you've done the sacred no list, I want you to turn the page and I want you to write on this, what pain is staying in this situation causing me? What is the emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical, financial cost of dealing with this on me? And I want you to take your time in each of these categories and think about how not setting a boundary here, what it's costing you. What is the pain that's directly resulting? Now, don't miss this. Okay. You might be thinking, I'm going to write leverage on the pain of putting up with your shit. Well, here's what you're doing to me because you're crossing my boundaries and you're not giving me what I need. You're creating this pain in me. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to write about the pain that you not holding your boundaries is causing you. Now, that's a very different way to look at it. Okay. I have a toxic person in my life that I just know is toxic. Okay. Every time I'm with this person, I end up, how do I know? I end up feeling drained, depleted, devalued, dismissed. Okay. I end up feeling worse about myself when I leave this person's presence, confused, angry, frustrated, triggered, all the things. So I know that that's enough of a boundary for me to say, I really can't be in this person's space, or I have to limit my exposure to this person. But what I do instead is I forget the pain and I say, well, maybe this time will be different. Well, I don't remember my leverage that I have on myself. So before this is why it's so important that you take time to remember the truth about the situation before you start gaslighting yourself, because we all do it, right? We're like, oh, well, maybe it really wasn't that bad, or, we minimize it. Maybe, we justify it. Maybe they were just like that the last time because, they were having a bad day or they were a little bit off, or maybe I triggered them up, or maybe I did it. We start to gaslight ourselves out of our own truth. And then what we do is we don't use our leverage and we go back in, and what happens? Every time you go back in and every time I go back in, I get the same exact result. And then what? I get mad at them again. That's the wrong person to get mad at. I can't get mad at a dog for barking. I can't get mad at the sun for shining. I can't get mad that the sun is shining at the beach so terribly hot on me when I didn't bring an umbrella or I went to the beach. Okay. We have to take note that when it's not other people that are putting us in this situation, a dog is barking. Okay. I am the one walking with the dog. I'm the one signing up. So we have to look at that. We have to say, I have to take personal responsibility. "Oh, Heidi, no, I didn't sign up for this. Nope. I didn't know what I was getting into. Okay. I thought I was getting a non-barking dog. I thought this dog was a non-barker. I thought this dog was just going to be quiet. And it was, I looked at the breed and I knew this dog wasn't going to bark. And I got it. And it was a lemon dog and it barks its head off. Okay. Now what? You got a lemon barky dog. I know you didn't anticipate it. I know you didn't think that that was what was going to be, but you got one. Your dog's a barking. What are you going to do now? Okay. On the other side of that leverage now with the pain plunge, right? Like, what's it costing you? On the other side, I want you to do a pleasure plunge. What are you going to get if you stop putting up with this shit? What's waiting on the other side for you? What beautiful life is waiting for you on the other side if you make a decision to stop tolerating this behavior from another human? So, you want to get number two, leverage on yourself. Leverage comes in the form of avoiding pain. What pain am I experiencing? Or what pleasure am I going to experience if I follow through? Pain and pleasure. Now, again, if you want a more detailed dive into this, you can always join one of my on demand courses that lays out this process in detail, walks you through it every step of the way. If you have questions, you can go over to HeidiRain.com and learn more about it. Okay. So the first thing is clarity, clarity on what you're no longer willing to tolerate. We've done that. Check. The next thing is get leverage on yourself. Why is it so important that you're going to stick to these boundaries for this time? The E is empower yourself. Empower yourself. Now, this one is going to seem like, well, how the heck do I do that? Well, you have to empower yourself by believing that you actually are in charge and in control of your own life. You empower yourself by saying, you know what? There's no rescue squad coming. I cannot wait for this person to get it on their own. I can't hope and wish and pray that suddenly the light bulb goes off in this person. Empowering yourself is coming to the realization it's up to you. You are going to have to be the one to facilitate the changes you want to see inside of your relationship. That's bummer news, man. That's really bad news, especially for somebody who grew up in an environment where your needs were never taken. It's always up to you, right? You're like, I'm tired. Why is it always up to me? I want somebody else to be in charge. Well, it'll always feel that way for you until you rectify the pattern of picking people that disappoint you. Okay. It'll always feel like it's up to you because of the pattern of the people you choose who are incompetent and unable to meet your needs in a relationship. But once you break that pattern, it won't be all up to you anymore. You'll pick a person that is firing on all cylinders emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. You'll pick somebody who's responsible for their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. You'll choose somebody who is emotionally mature and independent and interdependent and knows how to meet your needs. But right now, you don't know how to do that because you're still picking people based on your past trauma. You're still picking people who mirror and mimic the feelings you had as a kid of being rejected, disappointment, abandoned, neglected, or abused. And until you rectify that and empower yourself to make different choices, you're going to be using this formula for the rest of your life. Wouldn't it be cool to not even have to whip out this formula? Can you imagine a life where you wouldn't have to keep this formula on a card and like pull it out with all the idiots around you because you stopped picking idiots? That would be unbelievable. And I know that's possible for you. But there's an element of you in this situation that needs to understand you are 100% responsible for the people in your life, of how they show up for you. Not responsible for their actions, not responsible for them, but responsible for them being in your life. You have created this situation. You have chosen this person. Even if you don't think you have chosen this person, you need to empower and equip yourself. You can't go into this like a victim. You can't go into this like, wow, I didn't choose them. I didn't choose the addicted life. The addicted life chose me. I didn't choose the, whatever. The fact is that we are all creating our own reality with every single waking and sleeping moment of our lives. And so until we take 100% responsibility that Rick is a result of our own imagination, our own doing, our own conjuring, our own spells we cast with our words and thoughts and beliefs, until we take 100% accountability for that, we are never going to have a different life or existence. We're just going to be learning how to set boundaries with the new Ricks. Okay. And you can undo those patterns. You can undo the pattern that makes you addicted or attracted to somebody who violates your needs or violates your boundaries or disregards you or disrespects you or devalues you. You've got to break that pattern so that you stop having to learn how to set boundaries with people. Okay. So, C, get clarity. Don't miss these last couple. They're really important. C is get the clarity. L is get leverage on yourself. Why are you going to stick to your guns? E is for empowering yourself and understanding that you created this dynamic. You're not a victim here. You're powerful. You got to put your crown on. You got to get in your kingdom and be the queen of your own land and understand that you created this, which also means you can fix it. Okay. All right. A is going to be to articulate it. But you can't even start to articulate these boundaries and share them with other people until you do those other three things first. And you could spend months just getting clear on the first three. You could come into coaching and spend weeks just on clarity with me. You could come into coaching and just spend weeks on leverage. You could come in, and then by the time we get to and empowering yourself and breaking the patterns, by the time you get to the A in your clear boundary system, to articulating it, it's easy to do. You don't get hung up on the words. Like I remember not too long ago, my daughter had this new kid at school, and she's in fourth grade this year, and he had a habit of like stealing her stuff. I guess this is something people do in fourth grade. So because I heard other kids do it too, but he would come over here and just help himself, to her tablet, rip out pages, whatever. And so she had tried a couple different ways to set the boundaries with him. And the first way was, she was going to come over to him and say, hey, when she's going to do the formula. Hey, when you take my paper, I feel disrespected. Don't take my paper anymore, or else I'll tell the teacher, or, trying to plead, trying to do the boundary formula. And what I talked with my 10-year-old to be soon to be 10-year-old daughter about is boundaries are not about words, it's about energy. Okay. And the energy comes from the CLEAR acronym, CLEAR, and empowering is an energy. Before I even think about setting the words, I need to get into the energy of empowerment before I set a boundary with anybody. It doesn't look weak. It doesn't feel weak. It doesn't feel begging. It doesn't feel pleading. It doesn't feel balls in your court. Please, can I have my paper back? Please, please don't steal my notebook. Empowering yourself before you set a boundary is I put my crown on. I've got the energy of empowerment. And I know that when I set this boundary with you, it's not coming from a place of please do it. It's coming from a or else position. Okay. So articulating comes in this form of power. And she said, well, what should I say? If he takes my paper, I said, what would you do? I said, let's role play it out. I said, I want you to take my paper. I said, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You're going to bring some different energies. So she pretended like she snatched my paper. And my first thing was like make a funny energy, right? Like, nope, nuh-uh, just take it back and make it kind of silly or make it whatever. And I said, how do you feel about that? And she said, oh, it kind of feels playful. And I said, well, if it feels playful, then nine times out of 10, he's going to go, no, give it back. And now you're going to be playing, right? You're going to be playing this game of like, pulling it back and forth. What's an energy you can bring that makes him know you're not playing? It's not a game. How could you feel in your body before you set a boundary with somebody where that comes from the depths of your sacred no soul? And what would it sound like? Okay, so let's practice. He takes the paper and she looks at him. She goes, no, nope, No. And she means it. Now, you're not gonna look at your adult husband or your children and just have this, that's gonna be the magic word is no. The magic word is no. You don't need to say another thing after that, actually. You don't need a formula. It's not about the word, it's about the energy behind it that, I mean business. I've reached my holy limit and fuck off, I'm done. And that is the kind of energy that you need to get in you if you're going to have an effective boundary with somebody. It doesn't sound wishy-washy. It's not a maybe. And certainly it's not a game and the ball's not in their court. You are dominating and smashing and it's end game match point. No. All right. And if somebody continues on after that, what follows that? What's the next thing after you've articulated that boundary? Okay. After you've articulated it in a clear way, there's no misunderstanding about how you feel. There's no pleading. There's no begging. It's just resolute in your mind. Okay. After you articulate it, then you reevaluate and reassess and release. And release, after you reevaluate, the R in our acronym is you release that person. And what I mean is if they keep doing the thing, you release them by getting them away from you out of your life, or you release yourself. You do not stay in it and restate the boundary again and hope that they get it. You release. Release the hostage is the final step in our clear boundary acronym. Release the hostage. Either you're holding them hostage to an expectation that they're never going to deliver on, and you need to wake up and recognize that and respect it. That you're asking a dog not to bark and you keep getting mad at it. Please don't bark. Please don't bark when somebody walks by. Please, come on. I love you. I want to keep you in the family. But if you keep barking, I can't because my apartment can't have dogs. And you're going to, you keep pleading with the dog not to bark, or you go, hey, man, dogs bark. Now what? Release the hostage. Put the dog on a farm where it can bark its freaking head off. Okay. Let the dog be in a place that it can be where the barking is okay. All right. Or take the dog to bark rehab. Okay. Where it learns how to bark less or stop on command. It goes into dog training. Okay. But you don't sit there with the dog and keep getting mad and pleading with the dog, or you release yourself. You could say, well, I guess I have to learn how to live with dog. Can I like dogs that bark? Can I learn to like this behavior? Can I live with it? Can I learn to like it? I'll release myself as the hostage. Or do I need to walk away? Do I need to leave this situation? Now, I know this is so good today. I know this acronym is top notch. And you got to hear it today. So I'm happy for you because I know that if you just practice one of these steps in the acronym I've given you today, your life is going to change. Now, because this is so amazing, if you would like help with this, I get it. Meaning it's amazing, like it's a lot, right? It's a big concept. So if you want help breaking it down, go over to HeidiRain.com, schedule an appointment with me, get into one of my courses on demand, and I can help you understand this further. But really, at the end of the day, it's about you getting back inside of your queen energy, your energy that is, I'm reigning over my kingdom. This is my kingdom. I reign and I'm in control of my destiny, who I allow into my kingdom. Do I need to have a better moat? Do I need the guards? Where are the guards? Okay, what do you need to do to set up your kingdom so that you are in control of your castle? You are queen of your metaphorical castle so that you can reign, reign supreme. Okay. That is enough for today. Hopefully that's been a lot and a good value for you. If it has, will you do me a favor and share it or like it or leave a comment, because it helps us help more people. You can leave your comments. I love to read them. I love to see. Also, if you want more help, you can go over to HeidiRain.com. It's time to reign in your own life. It's time to reign in your life. You've got this, but you need the tools to be able to restore the kingdom. Okay. Love you so much. Take excellent care of yourself, and I'll see you really soon. Bye bye for now.